I haven't found a place I want to put my base yet in this world, so I figured while looking for a place, I'll be reading some Reddit stories. Just to let you know that I have my email in the description as usual, so if you guys want to post your own stories, feel free to do so. And yeah, let's get started. This first story is titled, Am I the A-hole for not being friendly slash putting in enough effort at a new job? I, 16-year-old female, just got fired from my first job as a server after 4 shifts, and the reason was that I didn't seem like I was enjoying myself there. Apparently, it had nothing to do with the actual work I was doing, it was just that I wasn't taking enough initiative due to being new and not knowing what to do. And he went on to say it was things I didn't do, like saying hi or being friendly to coworkers when I first come in. I do obviously say hi back, but I didn't really feel comfortable yet starting up conversation when I first come in. Especially if they're busy, I don't want to interrupt anyone. I think it's pretty obvious I'm not coming off as rude or abrasive in any way, but more that I seemed zoned out when I wasn't busy doing anything, and apparently wasn't smiling enough. I understand this reasoning, but when I have no experience doing this job, and you're clearly not being very helpful in guiding me to help, I don't know how you expect me to be taking initiative and immediately jumping in to see people, especially when I haven't been told how to use the computer to say when a reserve table has come in. Seating people was the only example he could give that I wasn't taking initiative in doing, because I have been doing everything else. I know this sounds like a biased perspective, but he's literally said multiple times, I have no doubt you are capable of doing the job, you just don't seem like you're enjoying it. Which I think is such an unfair excuse. If you're going to fire me because you don't think I'm being nice enough to you, not the customers, because I have no problem being in customer service mode and friendly when I'm actually speaking to a customer, then just say that instead of giving me BS about how I don't enjoy it. It's a job, not a play date. I also want to add, I think the problem of me not being friendly enough is worse with the guy who actually fired me, because the whole time I just got the impression he just didn't give an F with me, and he literally never made an effort to be joyful around me once. All I heard him do was complain. Not to/about me really, just in general. I genuinely think I saw him smile once. From my perspective, all I did was match the energy of the people around me, and maybe that's wrong, and I'm being naive here, because it's my first actual job, but I feel like it's an unfair judgment from 4 shifts, and it generally was just because they didn't like me, which sucks to think about. Okay, so for this story, I feel like you aren't the a-hole at all in this situation. I at first thought you were in the wrong due to hearing what your boss was saying, but after also realizing that you've only worked for 4 shifts and that these issues weren't necessarily severe, it's stuff that is really easy to fix. I feel like your boss should have at least given you a second chance after talking to you about it. I feel like he shouldn't have just fired you right away. So I feel like in this situation, your boss is the a-hole. He could have handled this situation a lot better. Even if his reasons were valid, it also does seem like that your boss himself isn't much of like an energetic or happy person. So from him to be expecting you to like big things, I feel like that just isn't right, and that makes him the a-hole. This second story is titled, Am I the a-hole for walking out on my friend while helping her move? I, 50-year-old male, agreed to help my friend, 42-year-old female, pack and move. She has some physical disabilities and has difficulty getting around, so I've helped her before and wanted to be there for her. That said, she can be very particular about how things are done, and she tends to be pretty harsh in how she communicates. I knew this going in, but I figured I could handle it for a day. When I got there, she asked me to start packing up her freezer, specifically to take prepped meals and put them into certain bags. The issue was that everything in the freezer looked the same to me. Nothing was labeled, and it was just a pile of containers. I picked one up to check what it was, and she immediately snapped at me, saying things like, That's not a prepped meal, don't you know what that looks like? And laughing at me. She also made comments like, I thought you could handle something this easy. This kind of thing kept happening over and over, me trying to clarify or do something, and her responding by belittling me or mocking me. After about 5 to 6 interactions like that, I told her, You can handle this, and left. Later, I cooled off and still felt bad because she does need help. I also been planning to go to the food bank for her since she can't easily do that herself. I messaged her and said I'd come back and help, but I was upfront that if things went the same way again, I'd leave. She agreed and said she'd stay in another room and just give me instructions. When I got back, she asked me to empty the fridge and pack everything into specific bags. I did exactly that, sorted everything into the bags she wanted, grouped appropriately. The movers were arriving in about 90 minutes, so I left the milk in the fridge so it wouldn't spoil, but everything else, cheese, etc., was packed. She came out, looked at what I had done, and immediately started again, questioning why things were on the ground, laughing, and saying things like, I thought you could at least handle this. I explained everything was packed and asked where she wanted the bags placed. She told me to put everything back in the fridge because it would go bad. I pointed out that the movers were coming soon and that I had left anything highly perishable in the fridge. She just kept staring at me, laughing, and repeating that she thought I could handle something this simple. At that point, I said, "You can handle this," and left again. Now she's texting me, upset and crying, saying I abandoned her when she needed help and that she was depending on me to get the kitchen packed. So, am I the a-hole for walking out? Okay, this situation is a little interesting because although I do believe that you are not the a-hole in this situation, your action was justified. I feel like you could have done it slightly in a slightly different way. I feel like in this situation, instead of straight up leaving on her like that, you could have probably asked her, like, not the first time you came back, but in the very beginning when she was like annoying you, you could have said like, "Hey, I don't like this behavior. Can you treat me with respect or something?" But it is completely fine because at the end of the day, she still was annoying you a lot, and it is very valid for you to just leave like that, especially when you left the first time and she said that she would be a lot more like nicer to you, and she just continued to pester you about random things. So in this situation, you are definitely not the a-hole, and it does make your friend the a-hole. I would also probably recommend that, like, if you were to go back and help her, right, like before you start helping, you would be like, "Hey, like, can you please treat me with respect? Because if not, I'm just gonna leave again. And if you do treat me with respect, we can just, I can just help you move, and we can be in good terms." This next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for not attending my girlfriend's graduation?" Am I the a-hole for not going to her college graduation? Now, before I get called out on just not wanting to go, I feel like I have a good reason. Before I met her, I signed up for an Ironman race. The date landed on the same day of her graduation, and we were reluctantly in agreement that I couldn't make it. Well, fast forward, I got injured just before the race, which is in a few weeks, so she thought that meant I would just cancel my trip altogether. I told her I'm still planning on going to the race to support the other guys I've been training with for over half a year. I have a non-refundable house I'm staying at, and I have family that moved around to work and plans to be there for the race. Long story short, I'm still planning on going to support my friends with my family, even though I'm not racing anymore, in turn missing the graduation ceremony. Does this make me an a-hole? I'm sorry to say this, but in this situation, you are most definitely the a-hole. You mentioned a lot of details as for why you're skipping your girlfriend's graduation, such as, "Oh yeah, there's like, my family had to move a lot of things for this event. I want to support my friends." But I feel like what you got to understand is that this type of event, it could happen like again, probably not like as easily, but it's still something like the Ironman's race. It could still like happen. It's not something that's just once in a lifetime compared to your girlfriend's graduation, where once she graduates, she's graduates. There's no going back. That's a very special moment for her, and I feel like you should have showed up to that to support her. I feel like you shouldn't also use the excuse of like saying like talking about money, because money can be made, but a once in a lifetime event that can't be recreated. That's just it happens. It's a one and done event. Once it happens, it happens. This fourth story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for messing up a group project?" First of all, I need to clarify that we are all adults. I'm almost 20 years old, and the classmates I'm going to talk about are a bit older. We are studying application development in our second and last year. Today we had to present a mini final programming project. Those of us who had failed part of this first term were given the chance to add an extra part to our code in order to make up for it, and both I and one of my classmates had to retake it. The problem came when it was time to present the project. I had a lot of issues with this teacher during the first exam. He would often criticize me in the middle of class, implying that I was useless and that I should drop out of the course. This started to cause me a lot of anxiety in the class. I always tend to feel anxious in general, but in his classes it gets much worse. While presenting the easier part of the project, he started asking a lot of questions. I got nervous very quickly, and when it came to the part I needed to retake, I completely froze. It was something very simple, just interpreting code that I had written myself. But between the fact that I'm not good at explaining code and the anxiety I was already feeling, I wasn't able to say or do anything, and I became extremely overwhelmed. In the end, I even started to tear up. I know that anyone reading this might say that I'm an adult and shouldn't react like that, but my anxiety levels were very high. The project itself was great. I'd even say it was probably one of the best in my class, but I feel really bad for messing it up so much after all the work we put into it. Afterwards, I talked to my teacher once I had calmed down. Despite what happened in the first term, he showed concern for me because it also worries him to see me struggling. I told him that what stressed me the most was the possibility that this could affect my classmates. So my question is, did I really mess everything up? Because I feel really bad, I don't think it's going to affect my classmates in any way, but I feel like I have humiliated them. I'd really appreciate hearing your thoughts on this. Besides, none of my group mates or classmates had cared if I was okay, which makes me think that I messed up a lot or that everyone dislikes me for some reason. This situation's a little tricky because I do feel like you are not the a-hole in the situation, but the thing is, I don't feel anybody in this situation should be blamed at all. I feel like there just could have been something that everyone could have done. So what I mean by that is that I feel like instead of blaming your group mates, like if they were getting mad at you, like you shouldn't get mad at them because they're getting mad at you because of like how you performed, like in your presentation. Because from a group mate's perspective, if I had a group mate who like we spent all this hard work on a presentation and we weren't able to execute fully well, and especially since this assignment, you guys really needed this assignment for your grade, so you shouldn't get mad at them, but I feel like you should just be apologize to them and just move forward. As for your situation, I believe that there was nothing wrong with what had happened. You know, your anxiety kicked in. There wasn't really anything you could do to control that. So you definitely aren't the a-hole in this situation. But I believe what you could do is apologize to your group mates, and you already apologized to your teacher, which was good. So yeah. This next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for constantly getting annoyed at my boyfriend? So we've been only been dating for around 3 months, but it feels a lot longer because we're in uni and are at each other's places like 4 to 5 days a week and spend all that time together from morning till night. Even though he's lovey-dovey and writes me really beautiful handwritten love letters all the time, constantly compliments me, etc., I get annoyed at him quite a bit because sometimes he says or does weird stuff. Like one time we were doing hypotheticals and I asked him if you were in Groundhog Day, what would you do? He said he would go up to girls and get to know everything about them so he could sleep with them. I obviously got annoyed at this, and he says what he always says, that it's always something with me, isn't it? And that he was just joking. But like that is not a joke to me. Another example would be that when we were leaving for the holidays, I was going to leave Saturday so my mom could pick me up. He's an international student and his flight would have been Tuesday. He asked me if I could stay till then so we could hang out. I'd say I'd have to ask my mom as it would be really hard for her to pick me up or I could take the train. I was very cool with that. Except on the Friday before he was hanging out with his friends and I was with mine. He messaged me all happy as he is drunk and he's like, "Oh, me and my friends made plans to go to the bar tomorrow." And I got annoyed at this because I'm literally staying longer because you specifically asked and now you're doing this. He does this a lot. Like when I would be over at his place, he would go down and play Wii golf with his housemate and I would just legit sit alone in his room for like 2 hours. Or he would say clearly weird things and then say it was a joke. I wouldn't even lash out, just bring up that it hurt me, and he would always reply with it's always something, isn't it? Or why are you even with me then? It seems confusing, but outside of these moments, he's so lovey-dovey, which is what makes this so confusing for me. Obviously, I can't type everything out, but obviously these kinds of things happen like every 3 days-ish, which is what makes this so confusing for me. Because he does usually apologize after all the denial, but I can't tell if I'm the one overreacting. Like he's made jokes about my dad's death, even after I told him to stop, etc. Or when I was sick once, his friends came back from clubbing and he went down and did karaoke with them till like 5 a.m., even though I would have never left him if he was at my place. He is saying he's trying, but even after apologizing, he keeps doing the same things. So I seem like an a-hole because I'm annoyed again and again. This is like when it's good, it's really good, but when it's bad, it's really bad type of situation. Am I the a-hole? I feel like in this situation, you are most definitely not the a-hole. It really does seem like your boyfriend's being kind of manipulative with how he's like treating you because he's saying all these things that you don't appreciate. And when you say that it hurts you, that he's saying like, "Oh, it's not a big deal," and like, "Oh, why'd you date me then?" This is literally like manipulation. Like he's just like keeping you in this relationship, I can't lie. And especially with how he treats you. I mean, like if your girlfriend's at your house and you just leave them sitting in your room alone for 2 hours, like that is just not okay at all. I think you should 100% dump your boyfriend and you should never talk to him again because with the way he's treating you, you should be getting treated way better than that. He's just manipulating you in this situation and it's honestly really bad on his end. Like, I mean, come on. He's not even treating his girl properly and he's being manipulative as well. Like, that's just really bad. So you are most definitely not the a-hole in this situation and your boyfriend 100% is. This will be the final story I'll be reading for today, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole? My friend hid my stuff. I, 31-year-old female, decided to be roommates with my friend, 29-year-old female. We have been through a lot together and spent a lot of time together. Around 4 of my functional decorative items in our shared living room started repeatedly disappearing and reappearing in odd places. The closet, underboxes, etc. One I used frequently, and I tore apart my whole room twice, and even told her I couldn't find it. When I was moving out, I found it under boxes in a closet. She had repeatedly made comments trying to get me to get rid of my couch, dining table, and pillows, so I know she has issues with my things. I confronted her about it, She lied and evaded, but eventually confessed she hid it because she thought it was ugly. She has done other things that have gone on my nerves. An example is when multiple phone alarms that go off for 30 to 100 minutes while she's showering and making breakfast. When I talk to her about this, she just gets upset about my tone of voice and or continues to do it. She says she sleeps through them and is trying her hardest, but I've seen and heard her downstairs while her alarms are going off in her bedroom, and she is never late for work. I thankfully moved out. I started evading her request to hang out. Eventually, I ended up unintentionally hanging out with her in what was supposed to be a group hang. I later apologized for being evasive about hanging out and explained it was because she hid my things. She replied saying, "Sorry, I moved your things, but it was well intentioned. You spoke to me last night with hate and vitriol." The situation she is referring to. I am part of a hiring committee for a community job for an organization that serves the local community. Although she has ample means, she has expressed she does not want to spend money supporting the organization when she can get their services for free. That's fine by me. But then she applied for the community job and didn't tell me. I expressed kind words to her when I found out, although I obviously had huge reservations as I just stopped being her roommate, which was very stressful, and she has problems with lying and doesn't seem aligned with the organization. She brought it up in person when we were hanging out, and I did ask her why she applied, since her actions didn't show that she was very interested in the mission. She got flustered and upset, and we changed topics. Additional info due to the questions. I had already rescued. This poster added more information to this post, so I'll be reading it now. Additional info due to questions. I had already recused myself from evaluating her job application. I am just sharing this part because she brought it up. She said she wanted to meet up to discuss. I told her I was happy to, but didn't think the conversation would go well if she said her hiding my things was well intentioned. But my words were full of hate and vitriol. Am I the a-hole? We have so much history in our past in our friendship, it is hard to let go. But these things and other things she has done makes me feel not great. We have a ton of mutual friends, which has given me anxiety. I believe in this situation you aren't the a-hole at all. It's more of your friend, because what needs to be accounted for is your guys' age. I mean, you're literally 31 and your friend's 29. And for her to be moving your stuff, first of all, like that, because she thinks it's ugly, is not okay. Like, if you're with a roommate and they have something that you don't like, yeah, you can just ask them, like, hey, I don't really like that. Could you keep it down? But if they say no, they have 100% absolutely the right to put whatever they want. Then they share the space too. And for them to get mad about that too and just taking action on your stuff, that's just not okay. I feel like that would not be a good roommate at all. And also about the part about how she applied for the job, I also found that a little weird on her end, especially since it seems like she doesn't even care at all. Like, she just wants to take the job. So in this situation, I believe that you're not the a-hole at all. It's more on your roommate due to their behavior. Because at 29 years old and you're complaining about like the stuff your roommate has in a shared like house or shared room, like, you honestly need to grow up. So that's it for the stories today, guys. If you guys prefer to have longer videos with more stories, let me know. And if this kind of style is nice, then let me know as well. And as mentioned in the beginning of the video, if you guys have your own stories you would like me to talk about, I have my email in the description, so you can email it to me. And yeah, thanks for watching.